You ever have one of those days where you step out onto your porch and realize the whole neighborhood is watching to see if you're going to fight back or just roll over? That's how it started for me, dust swirling behind two police cruisers as they pulled up my gravel drive, lights off but attitude on full blast, like I was some wanted man just trying to move a few boxes in peace. My old dog Duke was barking his head off behind the screen door, probably thinking the circus had come to town. I hadn't even finished unloading the first truckload before those officers rolled up, hands on their belts, sizing me up as if I might make a run for it. Before I could say a word there, it was the high-pitched call of doom. Karen standing out there with her arms folded, sunglasses like she was ducking paparazzi, HOA board in tow, the whole lot of them giving me the stink eye. "He's trespassing. That cabin is under HOA rules. He can't be here without permission," she barked, as if she was reading me my rights. Now you gotta understand, I built this place. Every single nail, every brick, every chunk of my savings. But Karen and her minions acted like I'd broken into Fort Knox. I just stood there, took a breath, and told the cop, "Would you like to see the deed?" I almost laughed when Karen started waving her finger at me, rattling off about lake rules and permits, acting like she owned the county. But here's the kicker, I knew something she didn't. My cabin. My land sat just outside the boundary of Whispering Pines HOA, a technicality I made sure to check a dozen times before I built a thing. But Karen, she hadn't read her own maps. I showed the cop my paperwork, deed surveys, the whole stack, while Karen's face went from smug to sour real quick. Let me back up a sec. Months before this showdown, I was living in suburban Columbus, Ohio, where the biggest excitement was getting a warning letter because my grass grew an inch too high. 10 years I saved to make my dream happen, a little cabin by a quiet lake, a place to fish, grill out, and not hear from the HOA every other week. Sold my house downsized, bought 5 acres up north in Michigan, where the only rules are the ones you make for yourself. But Karen Baker, Whispering Pines president for 11 years, didn't see it that way. The first time I saw her was when I was unloading lumber, sweat on my brow, dreaming about peace and quiet. She pulled up in her silver SUV, shades on, looking at me like I was dumping toxic waste. "You can't build here without HOA approval," she snapped. "Ma'am, I'm not in your HOA," I said, polite as possible. She just leaned in, eyes cold. "You think you're smarter than me?" she hissed, then sped off. That was the start. You ever feel watched even when you know nobody should care? Over the next few weeks, weird things started happening. Someone filed bogus complaints about me dumping waste. County inspectors showed up, found nothing. My tools got messed with nails and the grass sawdust in my generator. Once I found my portable toilet, knocked over a handwritten note that just said, "Not welcome." I knew who was behind it, but I didn't bite. I stayed focused, kept building. I wanted peace more than a fight. 3 months passed and my cabin was finally done, deck, chimney, even a handmade sign, Matt and Duke's place. The very first morning I moved in, before the coffee even finished brewing, here come the cops and Karen, all of them acting like they'd caught a bank robber. But when the officer flipped through my documents, you could see it the moment he realized Karen was blowing smoke. "Ma'am," he said, "this land was never part of the HOA. I pointed out the old plat filings, the 1984 deed, the easement that put my property outside her fiefdom. Karen started looking like she might melt into the gravel. But that wasn't enough. Jason Turner, HOA secretary, amateur ninja, and full-time weasel, was spotted crouching in my tree line, snapping photos through my windows. Duke barked like he was ready to take a bite out of crime. "Jason, what the hell do you think you're doing?" I yelled. He stumbled away, Karen's minions trying to keep up, while I handed every last document over to the officers. They took one look, shook their heads, and told Karen not to misuse emergency services again. It should have been over, right? You know what I mean? Not with Karen. The very next day, I drove into town and met Clara Walton, real estate attorney, and turns out the sharpest mind in the county. She looked over my stack of papers and grinned. "They've got nothing on you. If they try to force you into the HOA, we'll file damages." That felt good. But then Karen started playing dirty. Letter after letter showed up in my mailbox, threats about environmental violations, dock setbacks, legal action. I didn't back down. I put up a sign, "Private property, no HOA access." That night, someone trashed my mailbox and tore the sign down. Didn't even need to guess who. So I got cameras, motion lights, locks, got ready. Then the township inspector showed up, clipboard in hand, on emergency review. All bogus complaints filed by, you guessed it, Karen and Whispering Pines. I handed over every permit, every inspection report. The inspector walked my land, checked my dock, checked my septic, couldn't find a single thing wrong. He left looking embarrassed, and I got back to living. Sort of. You'd think by now Karen would give up, but if anything, she doubled down. That night I caught her and Jason with another board member near my dock, flashlights out, clipboards ready. "Documenting violations," she sneered. "You're trespassing," I snapped. "Leave or I'll call the sheriff." They left, but it was clear this was war now. I started documenting every single thing. Photos, dates, letters, trespassing, all of it sent to Clara. She filed a cease and desist, a protective order. At the same time, I put a legal restriction on lake access. Whispering Pines was now banned from crossing my land to reach the water, and when the letter hit, the whole neighborhood exploded. Here's where the twist hits. Local newspaper gets wind, thanks to Naomi, a reporter who smelled blood in the water. Her article went front page, "Lake homeowner stands up to HOA tyranny." That's when residents started reaching out. Some apologized, some thanked me, and some confessed they'd been bullied for years. The real shocker. A few even asked if I'd let them fish off my dock, said they hated Karen too. That night, I get a visit from a man named Richard Holloway from the state HOA Oversight Board. Turns out my case was the straw that broke the camel's back. They'd had complaints for years, but my documentation, the photos, the legal filings finally cracked it open. Suddenly, the state was investigating Karen and the entire HOA board. She tried to play tough, but you could see the cracks. Then Karen sued me, claimed I was blocking historic community access. Clara laughed. She countersued for trespassing, harassment, and legal fees. Within days, half the board resigned. Karen was left holding the bag reputation in tatters. I caught her on my cameras late at night, sneaking around with a tape measure, writing in her notepad, probably plotting her next move. We brought that video to court. The judge saw the boundary lines, saw the original plat, and dismissed her suit in one hammer drop. He banned Whispering Pines from my property, full stop. The final blow. At the next community meeting, the neighbors stood up, called out years of fear and fines, and voted Karen out as HOA president. She left red-faced sunglasses on even though it was night. But she wasn't finished, not yet. Through a shell company and a slick realtor, Karen tried to buy my land for a developer initiative using Pine Horizon Holdings. Clara traced it right back to her. We responded with a conservation easement, locked my land down, forever untouchable. Still, Karen and her crew weren't done. They filed a bogus environmental petition, tried to get my dock condemned. I went to the township hearing, laid out every permit, every wildlife consultant letter, and the committee shut it down. For the first time, Karen walked out of a meeting without getting her way. Here's where it gets wild. Karen gets arrested. Fraud investigation. Turns out she'd been funneling HOA dues into her own account through that same shell company, using the money for everything from spa days to lake inspections. Naomi's article blew up the county, froze Karen's assets, and the HOA was put under court supervision. After that, I did something I never thought I'd do. I wrote a letter to the residents of Whispering Pines. Told them I just wanted peace. Told them I didn't blame them for being scared. Told them I hoped they'd never let anyone control them with fear again. And you know what? People responded. They left gifts at my gate. Jason, the ex-secretary who once spied on me, even stopped by to apologize, pastries in hand. I forgave him. The Sunday picnic by the lake, no HOA, just neighbors, felt like the world had turned right side up. But just when you think the story's done, here comes the real twist. Turns out Karen was part of something bigger. A network of HOA presidents, shell companies, and a plan to monopolize lake access. My little fight had cracked open a statewide investigation. The other ringleader, Martin Graves from North Shore Estates, tried to take me down with arson, set a fire behind my cabin. The sheriff got involved, raids were conducted, and the whole corrupt network collapsed. The township stripped both HOAs of their authority. So here I am, sitting on my dock with Duke Fire, finally legal in the pit, the lake quiet again. The HOA bullies are gone. My neighbors are free. The lake is protected. And the only thing left is this: sometimes the best thing you can do for a place, for yourself, for everyone, is to stand your ground and remind the world that peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of courage. Now, if this story hit home, if you've ever had to stand up for what's right, or if you've watched a bully get what's coming, I want to hear your take. Drop a comment. Was I wrong to fight? Did justice finally win out? What's your line in the sand when the HOA or anyone else comes knocking? Let's hear about your storm and your sunrise.